15 and I'm out, and that's with the shower. I'm gone. Yeah, my wife and them like, I bounce up 4:45 every morning. I'm in the shower done and ready to go before 5 o'clock. I'm in the kitchen. You know what I mean? Yeah, chilling. Anyway, it's got that Bible cracked open. Yeah.
So Jerry, you said something real powerful. You said, community is essential. You said you can't do it by yourself. Can you elaborate on, why community is important, especially guys leading up to, going through a transitional program?
Well, it's like a multifaceted answer. First off, for you to love others as you love yourself, there has to be others. But you have to love yourself first. If you don't love yourself, how are you going to love others? So, going through the bumps and the ups and the downs and the conflicts and the confrontations is another thing, because that iron sharpening iron is a traumatic process. It takes a lot of friction to hone a surgically sharp instrument. But, us that's been out here in this life or in this world has been avoiding problems, whether chemically or whatever the issue is that a man has. A lot of people got a lot of anger, some got introverts, and they all handle it the wrong way with their life-controlling issues. They're resorting to some type of idolatry with it. You know what I mean? You have to have all of that to expose the things that you need to work on. Because it's real easy to sit here and say a few things real slick slide in a few minutes, and you believe that. But when you live with me for a few months, you starting to see what the real is. And then I can see what it is. That's the beauty of it. Is once I see me, I can stop looking at you as a problem and realize it's me. Yeah.
How did community kind of support you leading up to your process, help you make that decision during the process, and even now, how's community continue to affect you? So kind of before, during, and after.
When I initially got a hold of Jamie Torres's number, it was right before I was going to relapse. God was so gracious that he gave me my way of escape before it happened. So when I relapsed after getting out of federal prison, 6 days after, I saw I would probably need to do the testimony of it, because the way I come about the numbers, the whole God thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Let's go back to the very, let's go all the way back to the beginning.
Yeah.
We talking Jarrod before Christ, Jarrod before the program. Jarrod that had a major need. Let's talk about, that process leading up to you saying, you know what, I need something else.
Yeah.
I need intervention.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. That pre.
September 6th, 1977. My mom induced her labor while she was using drugs intravenously. So I was born with chemical dependency, and my brain had been shaped by chemical dependency during, the time of her pregnancy. So, I had to be in the hospital for a little while and things. And God is, I don't know how, but I wasn't premature. But I grew up in a lifestyle of prostitution and drugs. Identity crisis, growing up in a small town of racially divided. Back in those times, it was built around the Confederate War, Battle of Kings Mountain. Kings Mountain, North Carolina is where I'm from. So the town is so racially divided, it's whites against blacks, and that's just the way it is for that time period. Well, my mother never dated a white man that I knew of, because my daddy went to prison when I was 6 months old, and I was raised by a black man in black neighborhoods, being the only white kid, going to school, dealing with racists in my own family, people that are racist, being black sheeped by the family and stuff, except for my grandparents taking me to back and forth to church. I would see them on the weekends. And that was a whole other lifestyle that I was growing up in during the week, and then being with him on the weekends. So there's where my journey with the Lord begins, because I know that something's very abnormal in my lifestyle. There's a lot of abuse and drugs in my home. But, you know, when you love people, being a child, and the people that show you what you think is love at the time, you know, for me, there wasn't a color issue. And I'm thankful for that. But for everybody else, it was. And as I take on mannerisms of the people that are raising me, I'm starting to catch a little flack about that. So being the same people that's raising me, how they deal with things, how I start dealing with things, you know, and it really becomes a lifestyle just of intimidation, right? A spirit of intimidation, if you will. I've been intimidated, I've been picked on, so I start lashing out the same ways, you know what I mean? And these things become what I start wrapping my identity around. You know what I mean? You're only as good as your last interaction, you know, believing those lies, you know what I mean? And so that started molding the way I thought at a young age, right? That you pretty much just gonna have to fight your way to get what you want, right? Because it's hard living in a project where there's 300 apartments, and you the only white kid, your brothers mixed with alopecia, wearing Coke bottle thick glasses. It's hard to stay on the playground, bro. You feel me? Yeah. So we had to get out there, bro. And my mom and them was like, don't come back. You know, if you lose, you better get back out there and win. So, you know, that's just what it was. We had to do that. That's what we did. And then when girls and all that come along, here's the first taste of pleasure. And then you become a pleasure seeker. And then the drugs start coming around because that's all you know. And then really, I'm wrapped up in this identity crisis, you know what I mean? And then gangster rap, I ain't even gonna fake, but gangster rap hit the scene, bro, and they talking about what we seeing on a daily basis. So now we relating to it. And once you start relating to something and wrapping yourself up in that, you know what I mean, you start lying to yourself, acting like that's you. You know what I'm saying? And back then, you know, I ain't never been to California. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never been out there in Compton and none of that. You know what I mean? But you couldn't tell me that in my heart because that's what I saw inside my house. So that's what I'm portraying out there. And it wasn't long. You know, I got banned from every public school at 17 years old, brandishing firearms, things of that nature, charged with carrying a concealed weapon, banned from every public school in North Carolina. Out, yeah, so yeah, the streets took hold. I'm in and out of jail and out of prisons all my life. Wrapped up in drugs. The only way to support that type of habit is just to make the drugs pay for themselves. You know what I mean? So that's what it becomes, you know. And then along the way, you're having kids the whole time, sex out of marriage. You know, you believe you love her. I'm really using her. I'm attached to her. Really just starting a vicious cycle, repeating everything I saw. You know what I mean? Womanizing, grabbing a hold of one who would let me completely manipulate her to the point it's no longer manipulation. You know what I mean? She's just being used to the point, I mean, and then abused. You know what I mean? Because they're so, you know, as we've learned, you know, love is not a feeling. You know, you can tell yourself whatever, but, you know, it's a commitment. And I didn't have none of that. She didn't have none of that. But we had this feeling. And that joker just took us on down through there. So she ended up just as bad as I was. And then I blamed her for it because of what she started doing. And she hates me because of what I'm doing. And then before you know it, we just hate each other. And now we got 3 sons, and they're caught up in the mix. And I hate myself. And I ain't had no hope. And that makes you a very dangerous person. And then when I was 9 years old, I don't know how you're going to edit this, but I was leaning over a balcony in a church, and there was this man preaching. He was a Hell's Angel. And I remember just being caught up in everything he was saying, because everything he was saying, I was seeing. about his life was what was going on in my house. And I remember the Lord said, this is what you're going to do. I just turned to my grandmother and started crying. I told her what I heard. She said, honey, that's the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And I got in trouble. And I had to leave her and the 3 sons and come to a little town called Lenore, North Carolina in 2003. It's the Bethel Colony of Mercy. At 7:39, Paul Pruitt preached a message on come to me all who are weary and heavy laden and I will give you rest. And that thing snatched me, bro. I'm talking about sobbing, tears. And he gave an altar call right there in that little classroom, and I went running down. And then, of course, he said, you want to get baptized? I said, all right, first off, you got to teach me why and all that. What does that mean? And, of course, he did all that. Then he took me to a church over at Mount Grove on Conley Springs Road. And when he did that, I met the pastor of that church. And I got baptized. And that pastor gave me his testimony. And he was that man that preached that sermon when I was 9 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. His name was Cliff Black. So I knew that what he said was true. Because all that time had gone by and he brought me right back to that moment. And I went and prayed. I said, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do. I need you to show me. I didn't even make it off the sidewalk of the front door of the church when somebody walked up to me and said, I need you to put these 3 guys on your prayer list. I'm going to take you to talk to them Friday. I said, all right. That Friday, they took me down to talk to them. They were in Gastonia, and they were in a high school crowd, and I was speaking to the whole crowd. I didn't know it. They didn't nobody tell me nothing. You know what I mean? So I knew right then that the Lord was going to do something. You know what I mean? I'm leaving a lot out.
Yeah.
But
so it sounds like just kind of little nudges, kind of little
glimpses and then
along the way.
Boom, boom, and that's how. And then all the way to here. You know, if it's a lot to say, if I gave you everything, how I saw and knew God was moving me to today, to right now. You know what I mean? And I'm not nowhere near worthy of it or ready.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, so we got the background, kind of how you grew up, kind of that how those cycles kind of started. Let's transition into, all right, you're getting close to making the decision to, I need intervention, I need a program. Talk about how you met Jamie Torres.
Can I just give you one more story right quick about, because when I talk about how I grew up, it's just coming to mind. One day, I hear, hey, little man, I'm asleep. I hear, hey, little man, wake up. I open my eyes. I'm going to leave the names out. A man I know was standing there, and he's got a python of a pistol in his hand. And so he says, get up, picks me up. I'm right at 15. He takes me out the door of my bedroom, through the living room, into the kitchen, where there's 2 more men. And they've got my mama and my mama's boyfriend up against the wall. But my mama's arguing with them. They trying to rob us. And mama peep game, grabbed the dope. She got it on her. She ain't letting it go, right? So they come got me for the leverage to get right. But my mom was like, no. Matter of fact, she turns around and walks off on them into the bedroom where she stays. When he gives chase to go behind her, they're out of sight, but all of a sudden you hear him scream. What he didn't know is she was still holding to the razor blade that she was cutting the dope with. So when he puts his arm around her to grab her, she slices his arm. When he jumps back, she turns around and slices his face. And he comes out bleeding, leaves a trail. and they start shaking. And then they run, and then my mama's boyfriend went and grabbed his pistol, and they, shoot out the door. But the whole time my mom was hollering, "They got the dope, they got the dope, they got the dope." And as soon as my mama's boyfriend went out the door, she run up to me with the dope, handed it to me, and said, "Here, go hide this." Yeah. So that was, when I say I grew up in it, I'm talking about like that man just did 20 years in the feds, all caught murder charges. My brother caught 146 years. My cousin shot 4 people execution style in their homes. They killed my boss man, threw him off a bridge. You know what I mean? Yeah. My aunt got her throat cut, slashed, left on the tracks for sleeping with black guys. Yeah. That was the whole, like my father's side of the family that was in prison and stuff. We were all right there in the same neighborhood.
Rough.
Very. But I want to put it in context, like, yeah.
That's what you were saying.
Daily. And this is how, this was, that's what I wanted to be. Because that's who accepted me.
Yeah.
No matter what. It didn't matter what I looked like. It didn't matter what I acted like. As long as I was doing like they was doing, that was it. And when you start nurturing things like that, and that's all you know, and you ain't never been nobody's priority, you looking for anything to be accepted. Yeah.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. It's giving us so much context. So you're in the cycle, you're seeing it, you're self-identifying with it.
Yeah.
You're in the deep end. I mean, you're engulfed in it. You know, leading up to a better way. What's that light that started shining in? How did God start getting your attention? Like, hey, you need to surrender. You need something else than you've been chasing.
Hardship was something I was used to. Love started breaking through. Yeah, in and out of jail, you just get used to it. You numb to it. They shut the door, you lay down until they let you out, period. It ain't hard to do time. Stay out of the way, don't let nobody take nothing from you, period. You know what I mean? Man up. Take care of yourself. You know what I mean? And that's what I built my life around. So I fit in prison like a round peg. I was trying, though. The Lord had took me back to Bethel Colony. But I made a huge mistake. I got married to quit sinning instead of quit sinning to get married. And when that dissolved, I didn't know how to cope with it. Because all I had was an education. I didn't have no applicated knowledge. I didn't have the wisdom that comes along with living according to God's word and applicating it and being able to relate to the promises and the principles through the life and building a relationship. All I had was a regimented day-to-day consumed with work and a protected atmosphere. I was still isolated. It was just me, and it wasn't anything that was done intentional. I was still so caught up in my identity at that point, still attaching my street to this person I was trying to be, but still, I'm not just a new creation at this point. I am someone, I am half. This is half me. I am trying to do this. This is who I am, and this is what's going on, and this is all self. This is self. This is self. I look at me. I'm the bad guy who got good. No, I'm a lie. Because when the rubber meets the road, I am the seed in the thorn in that rocky ground. Life comes along and it tears me up, and I run and I choke out. Yeah, the seed takes root, but it don't last. You know, the world chokes me out, and so that relationship dissolves, and I say, if I'm gonna be miserable, I might as well get high. So when I do that, when I say that, when I speak it, it became life. I gave it life. And then that's what happened. So I went world long back into what I knew. And 15 months later, the federal government showed up. And they said, you're coming with us. And I knew that I needed some relief. But I was mad at God. And the environment I had been around was, hey, you know the Lord, you're going to be okay. You know, they didn't really, they had a lot going on. And for whatever reason, nobody checked on me. When I got isolated, nobody came. And after I left, nobody called. You know, for whatever reason. So I just imploded. So, and the police picked me up. They're taking me, the marshals put a hold on me. They're taking me into the jail. I said, Lord, I know you're here, because I know what your word says. When I went in that jail, I said, hey man, you mind if I go over here and get a book? Taking my cell. He said, yeah. When I went and picked that book up, it was the first 2 books that I'd been given when I got to Bethel College. Neil T. Anderson, Bondage Breaking, Purpose Driven Life, was sitting on top, and I knew right then. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, he's here. I said, you know, he's so faithful. And I poured in. And then I got sentenced after about a year, sitting in the jail, pouring over that word and loving every minute of it, and dependently needing, because I'm about to go into a situation that's going to be very intense. You know, the upper levels of federal prison are not, you know, cakewalks. These things can be a situation. So I'm like, man. And there's that need, that dependent need, but it's rooted in self, and it's not going to last because it's rooted in what I need. I need you to save me from my consequences. And when they stuck me on that yard, and as soon as I found my groove, and I was right back in my mess because I didn't need it no more. And God is still so loving and gracious. He's not going to leave you stuck in your mess. Yeah. You know, I'm sorry I'm getting off. I apologize, bro.
You're good. So, no, that's great, man. So, all right, you gave us kind of that backstory. Mm-hmm. Let's fast forward a little bit to you're headed a better way. Kind of what's going through your mind. You know, what did you expect? What did you not? Did you go kicking and screaming? Did you go with it? Like, what was that process like? So, talk about kind of you're headed down a better way. And then what that process was like, and how did God can start changing you during that program?
The leading up to Better Way was the 6 months that I was coming in and out of the church, and everybody was just loving on me. I'm talking about from the door greeters, man. You know, of course, you know Benny. You know how he is, man. Just love you right on up, bro. And I needed that. And I got to wanting that. So no matter what I was doing, I was on the way, unless I ain't gonna say I didn't make it every time, but it affected me when I didn't. There was something here that I had to have, and God was drawing me. You know, the people here that he was using to love on me, man, I needed that. And I'm talking about something I ain't never felt before. You know, it's different, you know, when you're seeking, but it's one thing when you find where you're assigned. You can't live without that, because that's your purpose, you know, and the man's calling is his purpose. So when you're called to be somewhere, and you know, just as a member of a church, man, and you find that church, you know, you know. So, and then, so Jamie wants me to go to Better Way and stuff, and I'm honest, I've never been loved by nobody like that, so I ain't want to let him down. So no matter how I felt about it, you ask my wife, I didn't want to go, but I couldn't let him. I knew she wanted me to, but she ain't gonna make me. Jamie wanted me to, and I wasn't gonna let him down. And it might not sound, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, you got to do it for you and all that stuff. Well, I ain't never cared about me. So if you waiting on me to love me, you backing up. I hate me. But I love Jamie. My wife, I've gotten so comfortable and used to, you know. So as I go down there was something that the Lord did real quick. He showed me that what it's like to represent somebody. Because when I went down there, I felt like I was representing Jamie because he was a part of it. So I cared about what people thought. I cared about my actions. I cared about things. You know what I mean? The Lord showed me real quick, that's all. Dust in the wind. You know, he gave me a sense of what it is to be an ambassador, a representation of someone else. But he also used it to show me that I was idolizing a man and all these things. And so he used that so mighty in my life within those first 50 days. And, you know, showed me how I was so wrapped up in still my self-image and my self-identities and all these things. Even though I'm going where he told me to go, the process is still what it's going to be, man. So being in a place that allows all of that to happen, it takes the time that it takes, because you can't get 20 miles in the woods and walk out in 5, bro. You can't do it. You're not going to put a life in the streets and think you about to step back on the porch, man. You got to deprogram. You know, there's PTSDs and stuff, man, that come along, especially for people that's been incarcerated for a long time. You know, so those guys are going through the same thing I'm going through. Because a lot of them guys is the same way. They was in jail and heard about this through somebody else that's a part of this, and they got them down there. You know what I mean? So we all together and going through all of this fresh in the most pain. As you get there, and the Lord brings you to a still stand place, and all your past comes crushing in. The more clear-minded and sober you get, as the Word of God will do when you sit up under it, it will transform your mind. It is a biblical principle. Faith comes by hearing. And once that starts happening, no matter how you feel about it, it's going to do exactly what it was intended to do, because God's word does not return void. So once it starts working on you, your emotions are apt to go haywire because you are not ready for it. You know what I mean? People can say that they stepped in, you know, thank God for the man that gets touched and his life has changed and he's a street preacher the next day. Thank you, Lord, for that. But that is not the case with 99% of people, and they need time to heal from trauma. They need time to heal from things that happened to them and the things they did. And that takes time. And it takes love. And it takes people who can relate. And when you get that, You can build relationships that are based in the truth. And that truth ain't got to be pretty. You know, it's just got to be the truth. And once you get rooted in the truth, and that spirit starts moving, there's only a few things going to happen after that. It's called freedom, deliverance, and salvation. Amen. Yeah, and healing.
Wow.
You know?
So, no, I think that's a great. You really phrased that great. I love that last bit. So tell us about now. All right, you're through the program. You're on the other side. God's working in your life. You're married. You got a beautiful family. How do you feel now? And what's next for you?
I feel great. I feel awesome. I'm loving life right now, but don't get it twisted. It ain't nowhere near easy, because now I have, not only do I have the tools to deal with what happens in a day's time, and it's always something, you know what life is like, especially when you got bills and kids, right? So, but I had no excuses, because I have all the tools. I mean, every single blessing and gift that pertains to life and godliness. I have what I need and use it. And I've noticed that when I do apply biblical principles to my circumstances, I no longer see circumstances as problems. I see circumstances as another tool that God is using to polish a gem. Right. He's showing me, through my circumstances, areas of my own heart posture that I still need to work on. So they don't seem, I mean, they're hard, but the work is so much more rewarding, because it doesn't matter how hard my day is. My family is no longer in disarray. God has restored.
Yeah.
They're no longer, they don't lay awake at night wondering where I'm at. You know, they don't lay wondering, is the phone going to ring? And a family that wouldn't come 10 minutes to get me out of jail, literally. We lived on the same street as the jail. When I say 10 minutes, I mean on the same street. Was driving 10 hours to see me for 2. You know what I mean? My wife never missed a day. That's not me. My family got saved. My mama, my brother, all came to the Lord and are clean and off drugs. And I wasn't here because I left to go to a better way. God did way more than just save me. He saved my whole family. And it couldn't have been me, because I wasn't here. Every heart he turned towards me, he did it. I wasn't here. I was being faithful with what he had given me. And once that hit me, that all I had to do was worry about the 24 hours I got. I don't got to worry about what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, man. Or what's going to happen. All I got to do is be faithful with the right now, with the next dude that's standing in front of me. You know, what I'm going to do for him. You know, because Proverbs 20 verse 7 says, if a man walks in his integrity, his seed shall be blessed. All I got to do is the next right thing. God gonna take care of my kids, man. I ain't even got to be there. You feel me? I was just like, man, and when those lights start turning on and the spirit start moving, you know, so love changes, bro. Once you realize the love of God, it changes you. You cannot do anything but melt up under the love of God. If he gave you even a glimpse of it, we would dissipate immediately. You know what I mean? Just a catch. We would be crushed under the weight of how much he actually loves us. And once you start seeing that, you know, your heart starts changing, it melts up under all that. You know, but you got to get out from under all that self-deception, bro, to see it. You know what I mean? And that's, for me in the community, that's what started bringing me up out of it. You know what I mean? It gave me a place to run to. And then when I knew God was talking to me, I just did what he said. I didn't care about, feeling, even when I didn't want to do it, and even when I was mad about it, I was just mad on the way to doing it. And he kept his word. He kept his word. And he changed my heart. He changed it. You know what I mean? I can't get into words how much I don't even think like I used to. Even when I get upset, I am convicted. You know what I mean? My wife will tell you, she tell you right now. I got a text on my phone right now. I had to apologize, told her I love her on the way over here. You know what I'm saying? I'm quick to get it done. You know what I mean? Anyway, sorry.
So
I'm sorry, bro. I know I'm all over the place.
Right.
I apologize.
No, yeah. So kind of bringing a nice bow around it all for those who are, thinking about supporting this effort of us starting Grace Place. Just come from the heart. How would you appeal to that group? What would you say to them if they're on the fence? Like, should I support? Talk about the need. Talk about the urgency of getting involved. However they can.
Well, one thing statistically about men that get saved, the families come to salvation. 90-something% of the time. It's the highest rates. But what it does for the community, I know, modeling after a place like Better Way, as far as the work programs and things of that nature and what we did in the community, is some of the most fulfilling stuff I've ever seen or to be a part of. Because every day we're in the community working hand in hand with the community, whether we're doing the moving company, the tables and stuff that they make for Chick-fil-A, the clothing stores, the consignment shops, all of these things, furniture stores. We're hand in hand with the community, and every day this community down here, they love us because we're bringing the Spirit of the Lord with us, and we're in these houses, we're praying with people on a daily basis, we're meeting needs, spiritual, we're praying for all types of situations on a daily basis. There's 100 guys, and they're in that community with the light of the Lord, and they're broken vessels. And that's what that place provides, is for us a place to go to and let that past come crashing in and let it break us. And then the Lord puts us back together. And then he uses us in the life. So it's not just our life, we're into the community's life. And what it does for the community is give them hope. And then now, once you have hope, sky's the limit. Sky's the limit. Once a man has been given hope, there's nothing there is no more limits. There is no more ceilings. Yeah.
And based on what you know about this area, is there a need?
Yes. I'm from this area, and I had to go to Atlanta, Georgia. And everybody's not as lucky as I am. They don't have the means for their families to come back and forth. And I have a friend right now. He has children and a wife, and he wants what he sees. And he knows it's real. And he keeps showing up. And he don't lie to me, But we don't have a place like that here. So, but we will.
Well, I love you so much.
I love you, bro.
I feel the Spirit, boy.
Bless you, Lord. Bless you, Lord. Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Sorry, I hope.
I think we covered a lot of ground. Let's just do one more thing. I want you to talk directly, because this is going to be played during the, dinner, what's it called? I just want you to talk directly to the people. Tell them, hey, listen, if you're able, get involved.
Yeah. Wise man told me that when you see the Lord at work, go join him. And that's what we need. We just need men who want to be a part of what the Lord's doing to join us. Because God's at work here. Because it can't be us. Not this misfit group. But that's the beauty of the Lord. All we got to offer is our weaknesses. And he gonna take it and do everything that he wants to do. You know? So
join us.
Please. Especially if you don't think you're able. Because that's the ones the Lord wants to use. Yeah.
I think we got it. Yeah.
Right now.
Right now. You know.
Come up talking about, bro, I need you to pray for me. My wife want me to go the better way. I'm like, because I know that's what he need, but bro, I already know. You got these kids. You got a wife. You probably already know what I'm talking about. You definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, but I think that's why we are doing this. And you know, I already had a fire, man, but you know, you kind of just fan that flame.
Bless you, Lord.
While we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Just like you know,
bro, that's the whole.
That need that, but right now as it stands, without a place, we gotta send men off here and there.
Yeah.
And you know, if we had a place, I think that even more folks will continue to show up that need that. And you and I both know there are probably some guys that needed that. They're good at shielding and good at hiding it. You know what I'm saying?
Man, absolutely. Bro, the beauty of that thing down there, because I could tell you like so much how the Lord, bro. When I caught 2 petty charges before I went to prison because of that relationship I was in, and then I left. Right? Those petty charges took me. I couldn't get them done, bro. I'm talking about violations of a DVO are nothing in a courtroom, bro. They don't even give you enough time for this. I can't get these things struck, I can't get them charged. I can't get pled guilty. I'm writing motions for lack of warrant for prosecution. Just saying words like that lets you know I already know how to write these motions, bro. I'm trying to get this thing done. They're like, nah, you got to come up here. I'm like, what? Man, give me matter of fact, guilty. Give me the time and run it consecutive with what I got going on, bro. Let me go. Put me on probation. It'll be done by the time I get out. Yeah. Do it. They was like, nah, you got to come up here. I was like, what? My man's and them was like, I ain't never heard of that. I even contacted a lawyer. They was like, nah, man, you got to come up. There ain't nothing I can do. I'm like, man, this don't even make no sense. Until I met the magistrate that I turned myself into, because that's the man who introduced me to Jamie.
Wow. Talking
to him. The man was praying for me, trying to get everything. You had the police laying hands on me, praying for me in the sheriff's station. I was like, I'm just blown away, snotting and sniveling. Yeah. Police lost my paperwork. They was going to try to hold me in jail after a couple of days after the thing was done. My dude was on vacation in Florida. I told my brother, because I about flipped out on them police, bro. I was still convict in a month. I was like, bro, y'all ain't holding me till Monday. Y'all lost the paperwork. Y'all let me out. The judge done notarized it. So you can't hold me. You hold me against my will. It's against the law. Anything happens to me or anybody else in here at this point, y'all going to be held liable court-wise, because I ain't supposed to be here. He's on the other side of the door. Police said, well, what's going to happen to you? You in there. I said, ain't nothing going to happen to me, but something about to happen to him. The cellie in there. They was like, what? I was like, yeah, because you're going to have to come in here and discharge that mace, and once you discharge that mace, you got to file the paperwork, and when you file that paperwork, there's a paper trail, and they're going to ask you why in the world I'm still in here. And he probably going to sue. Right? And then they were like, ooh. And they coming back. They were like, it went after, because I went all the way with it. So they CERT team and they coming to get me out the cell. And the lawyer's like, chill out. You already see me at work. You know I'm here. So by the time they come, I'm snotting and sniveling at the door. I'm like, what is going on? I look at the guy and say, man, I'm sorry, man. Please forgive me. He's like, oh my God, dude, you had me scared to death. Because I wouldn't let him off the top bunk. He was up on the top. I wouldn't let him down because, you know what I mean? I was serious. I'm about to snatch you off of this joker and go to work. These jokers just let me out this cell, bro. And here they come. The lieutenant come down. He said, look, Malone, don't do this. Please don't do this. Please don't make us come in there. Please don't. He said, look, man, I'm going to let you out all weekend. You can be the trustee. I'll give you the extra trays. You can use the phone. He said, as a matter of fact, come out and use it now, man. Your people's in the parking lot waiting on you. I'm like, just crying and stuff. He's like, please don't make us do this. Please. And I'm like, man, you. All right, man. I go get on the phone. My brother's like, what? You met my brother, he come. You know, he's like, what? I'm like, man, look, man. I said, hey, bro. I said, hey, man, call that magistrate, man. See what he said. Dudes, before they served breakfast Saturday morning, they opened the door and said, hey, Malone, you out of here. I don't know who you know, but you out of here. Dude was on vacation in Florida when they called him. He made them people get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go get that paperwork out that courthouse. Yeah, right? So then I went straight. I got out. I went straight over to that female's house, relapsed. And it's for 6 straight days I was a maniac. I hadn't done nothing, bro. I've been gone almost, you know what I mean? Been gone almost 7 years. I ain't done no dope. And I'm fresh on it, up 6 days, shooting dope. My brain can't handle that. And I'm crazy. So 6 days, I finally lay down, and on the 7th day, the Lord snatched me out of that bed. Something pulled me by my hands. I was in a dead sleep. And it snatched me up and took me to every pocket in my mama's inner closet. And it was pulling trash out. Old lighters, Kleenexes, Q-tips, all kind of stuff just in these pockets. But every pocket had something in it that I was going into. It was dragging me around the room, bro. And then I could hear in my background, this is the pockets of your heart, and you have all this trash and stuff you're holding on to. And I'm like, what? And then I look over and see that card that the pastor David Stikelleather, that's the magistrate's name. Pastor David Stikelleather of United Baptist Church. On the back, Jamie Torres. I called the number. Was you there that day? At Pleasant Hill when I showed up?
I was, bro.
That's the day. That's it. That is it.
I remember that.
That is the day. So if the Lord has just been,
I remember that.
bro, all through my mess, I took him to the worst places. Because if he never leaves or forsakes, then he don't leave. That means he's been everywhere I went. And he graciously kept on and 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 kept on.
That was a while back. I remember that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We was over there at Pleasant Hill, qualifying.
Yeah.
We're doing the service, and it's like, who is this dude? And now we sit here, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I called Jamie while I hit him with the, look, bro. He said, look, I don't know who you are, but the Lord wants you to talk to me. I said, man, hold up. Man, I ain't trying to hear nothing with this no cliche, Christian little. He said, hold up, let me tell you something. He said, look, I've been coming to church for 20 years, man. My phone don't pick up here. He said, I don't even answer my phone before I go on stage. I'm literally about to walk on the stage and preach. He said, if you for real about what you're saying, man, be here by the time I get done preaching. Pleasant Hill Baptist Church, Morganton, North Carolina. Click. I made it.
he showed up too.
Wild as a mother. Looking crazy, bro. But on the way down, the psychosis started going away. When I got there, I was actually able to, hold a coherent conversation. I was probably sweating and looking crazy. Jamie says I was. But,
Wow.
and then I was able to eat.
Mm-hmm.
And then all that went down. And he told me about the Bible study to be here. It was in this building over there. And what's crazy is when I went home, it came back. The psychosis on the way back. It came right back. I was crazy for a couple of days. And then Friday come, and my homie, I was like, hey, bro, let's go down here to this Bible study. And he was like, all right, but he was the plug. He was my friend for 25 years. My dog, you know what I'm saying? Real close. And when we showed up, him and Vic knew each other. Vic was the plug back in the day. It was his plug and my plug. Wow. I was like, what? He was like, man, this shorty right here. I was like, oh, snap. I didn't know that. When I met Vic at the church of Pleasant Hill, I didn't know that. You know how you don't just tell anybody about your plug. You always keep a joke away. You know, so you a middleman. I mean, you ain't trying to let nobody get your plug. You know what I mean? Wow. Yeah. So I was like, wow.
Well, I'll say this, man. You know, we're thinking about.
You still running the camera?
I turned it back on.
Yeah.
Just so I didn't. Because usually when I turn it off when we're done, I usually miss some good stuff. So.
Yeah, he gonna cut out.
That's sweet.
Not necessarily put any of that on there that much, but if there's a little something I can use from it.
Yeah. Sweet.
So, what I'll say, you know, I ain't trying to be deep in that like that, man, but there's such a place for you in this ministry, bro. I think you already know that. So I'm not going to overhype it, but...
Jamie, when I met him in the church, he leaned over and whispered in my ear, he said, you're supposed to be right here with me in this ministry. Remember when I hit that pulpit crying? That's why. When he said that's the first thing he ever said to me. He didn't know me. He met me in the middle of a frenzy, and he knew it. You know what I mean? I already told him.
I'll just say that as an encouragement, man. You're an encouragement to me.
Bless,
you know, for real.
Bless the Lord.
We need you, bro. You know, so one day, you said it.
I need y'all.
And I agree.
I need y'all.
You know, some days are not easy. I mean, Aaron knows.
Yeah.
I know, you know.
Yeah.
So on those days, man, just be reminded that you got a band of brothers right here that's really rooting for you, that need you as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know it, man. We just getting started.
Yeah.
We just getting started. We really just getting warmed up. But I really believe God want to do at this church, man. Just,
yeah.
I mean, it's more than. I mean, we could go another hour talking about all the God's doing around here. Just with every walk of life, you know, and it's really unheard of. We go to a lot of churches, man.
Yeah.
Even good churches. I'm not saying they bad churches, but what the Lord doing here is noticeably peculiar at times.
Amen.
With just the diversity.
Yes.
You know, age, gender, of course, men and women, ethnicity, background.
It's just constantly growing, bro.
Everything. You know?
Like since, you know, from time being in there and then over there and then going away and coming back, it's like boom. Everything is just quadrupled in size. Because over there it wasn't but just a square room.
That's it. Chairs
on the, you know what I mean?
That's it.
Now, I mean, might take it in a gymnasium, bro. Yeah.
Well, anything else you want? What do you think we got? I think we got it.
Well, tell me about Cliff.
Cliff?
Cliff Black.
Yeah.
I went to church there for about 10 years.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get to go to church there.
But you said you talked to him and stuff.
Yeah, we just had a conversation where he gave me his testimony, and then that stuff. And I really, and you know, we just had that little moment there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was. I really didn't say nothing to him. It's just when he was talking, and he's telling me, and we were there with Pastor Poole and stuff, he started talking, it hit me. I was like, oh man, because he had the curly hair and stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was like, oh man, you know, Thunder and all the bikes and you know, this testimony. And I was like, dude, this is him. This is the guy. You know, I just never said nothing to him. I always regretted that too. I always regretted it, cause especially after he passed away. Because you know, you always think you're going to do something one day. Yeah. Yeah, and something happens.
Yeah, he was a pretty special guy. He kind of reminds me of a lot of Jamie in some ways as far as how he loved people. No matter who it was. his testimony was pretty incredible.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah.
Yep. He was telling me about having all them guns in his house. And anyway, yeah. I remember my mama's boyfriend had some dudes coming down out of Virginia, and some young, and he hiding